Thank you, Fou and the Civil Art and Fou Gallery for organizing this event and for hosting us at the show. Thank you, everyone, for coming. And to start this conversation, Saba, let's start with the obvious place, which is the title of the show, Forsake and A Side of Pickles. So first, tell us where this title comes from, and also in terms of the body of work that we see here in the gallery, how different is it from your previous exhibition at Fou Gallery in 2024 called Falling Petals Standing Road?
Yeah. Okay, hello everybody. Thanks for Civil Art and Fou Gallery to make this event happen. Yeah. The Forsaken with the Side of Pickles came to my mind at the very end of when I finished every works. I knew this body of works is about abandonment, architecture, and how the nature you get through if you are not around and we are not exist. I knew the Forsaken is going to be in title, but as it is very dark vocabulary, and I'm a very kind of funny and kind of humorous person. Most of the time, I like that I bring a little bit of taste of humor, and it came to my mind that okay, in time that we go to restaurant and we eat a burger with the side of pickles, I like to have that word next to Forsaken. It's kind of like a dark humor into it because many times I myself felt abandoned and forsaken in this country after I migrated in 2013. And the way that I interact with people around me and the environment, I felt abandoned, but also they were treating me like abandoned at the same time. I have something to offer. Like I didn't know what is what. Like I had kind of like a paradox feeling at the same time. So that's how I end up to have that title. And the body of works obviously are a little bit different than my last show at the Fou Gallery. Basically with the process mostly, and also the elements and the symbols that I brought in my work. The previous show was kind of like the process was more free, and these body of works are less free because I had to bring architecture and some reference into my work. Also about the narrative, the previous work was about femininity and gender aspect, but and that it is really that was also related to climate change. But this Suadia's work is not based on gender aspect; it's just about the climate change mostly. Yeah.
Well, since you mentioned architecture, it's one of the questions I wanted to ask you, but do you feel there is an archival element in your works? Because we see a lot of buildings from different parts, right? We see a lot of buildings from Europe, we see abandoned castle, we see the Freedom Tower from Tehran. So do you feel that in some ways you document this buildings and architectural material culture as a way to preserve them, although you portray them as the bandits? So can you tell us a little bit, because it's an important part of your practice, yes.
Well, I feel this body of works and in general, my works are, I like to bring art history and history into my work, usually. But maybe as a archival that coming and I face them with today, like I change them in a way that I want to. So at some point it can be archival, but at the end of the day, because I just kind of like change them and kind of like manipulate the whole composition and like image, it cannot be. It's sort of like time treasures. I like to have that aspect. And I have been watching a lot of documentaries about abandoned palace and places past year, and I was also thinking how my work is different than a movie documentary that I'm watching. So in those documentaries, the movie man or like the cameraman go to the places and record the architecture that it is abundant the way it is. And I didn't want it to just be there. I just also wanted bring my own word and my fantasy into that architectures. So I think it can be, but at the same time not. What do you
So in terms of, for example, when you think about studying a new work, do you have a specific, mise en scène or specific building when you're thinking about it? Or is it dictated by the format of the work, the size of the canvas that you're working with?
Okay, yeah. So basically, I start my work very freely. Like they start with like ink on flat on canvas, and I get to a point of like some colorful zeros. Yes. But I didn't choose a specific architecture for a specific canvas or a specific palette or, I knew in this body of work, I like to represent some architecture. I knew I like to bring some architecture from my background, Iran. I knew that I want to bring like a collaboration from Georgia. Yeah, but I didn't know which work will get on the architecture, like which of the canvas. This the process of selection happened when I had the kind of like a first stage of the work, and then depend on how the composition in terms of like the plasticity and the ink sat on the surface, then I chose in which of them are the best home for that architecture visually. So then I bring them. That's how I brought them in my work.
Also, an important element and important part of the story for this exhibition was flooding of your studio, right? That kind of influenced your aesthetic, influenced your thinking. And we see a lot of post-human landscapes here. The humans are present, but they're present through absence. They're just, they are present through marble figures, through small details, but they're not humans as individuals. So can you tell us a little bit about the incident in your studio, how it influenced you? And also post-apocalyptic landscapes. Is this a setting that was always important for you, or it became more important as we experience more and more effects of ecological crisis that we see globally?
Yeah. So a little bit of a story. I past 13 years, I just could have a studio last year in New York City. I started my work when I immigrated in my bedroom, home studio. I had a time that I had to push my bed aside and then I work on the bed frame. Last year, I could get a studio space before my solo show for the Fou Gallery in a basement in Brooklyn. That studio got flooded 4 times. The first time was very crazy experience because I was inside of the studio and all the electric port was on the floor and I had my Zoom meeting with someone and I suddenly see there were water coming from my door inside. And all of my words was on the floor, the drill, like everything you can imagine. And I hang up the Zoom meeting and I had to just, I had to either leave or I stay and survive my painting and I chose the second one. So I stayed, I put all of my works top of the tables and anything I had in the studio and then I had to stand on the flooded table myself because in less than I think 2 minutes, everything were like swimming in my floor. It was 8 p.m. Nobody were in the building and the studio. I was scared to just like put my feet inside of the water and everything like that. So it was kind of a yes. And the idea of this show came from that moment. That I would send to be in that place, in the room, that all of my life is there. Because as an immigrant, I don't have anything that I can relate to rather than my painting. So I had to just give up everything and leave, or I had to stay even or die, or I don't know what happened to me. So then it came to my mind that how about if we are not inside of the architecture? How about if we are leaving the place that we are belonging to? So that's how I started. And the climate change have been my interest. I am not interested to work everything related to my background and my country. I fight. I'm fighting and happy doing that. That I don't get a box in the society. I like my freedom to create work. So climate change is one of the subjects that I'm really into, and I think it is a universal issue, and I like to work about it. The second part of the question
Was if post-apocalyptic landscapes became more important to you as an artist because of the climate change is becoming more pronounced as we observe it as a process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it happened also after the studio for the time, and the Californian fire.
Yes.
Wildfire happened, and I remember I had a show there that a painting sold there, and I didn't even know my painting is in the fire. It's still there or not. Like it was a situation that I was questioning. Like what will happen? Like I wake up every morning, I go to a studio that one day if I'm not alive, my painting will be somewhere. And then I get to a point that the climate change is serious enough that I cannot even dream that. Like I cannot be in this planet, and also my painting would be burning somewhere or being flooded, So I think that is kind of like an issue that you all have to think about, and not only me as an artist or yeah.
Well, another important part of your identity as an artist, as you mentioned before, is that you come from Iran and that you had to establish yourself and your presence and your artistic identity here. So would you say being an immigrant artist, how much of a role it plays in your subject matter? And do you think you would have painted differently if you stayed in Iran? And specifically, I want to ask about the details, which are so important for your the works, and they're marvelous and they're intricate and very thoughtful and humorous too. So would you think you would have chosen different details? And Minu will talk a little bit about the tomato paste seeding over there, because it's important for that.
Immigration have been very hard. I get to calling I'm not belonging to anywhere rather than belonging to my body. So I call my body my home, basically. That's how I could survive. Otherwise, I couldn't really pass days and painting. I think it also changed my career wise. Basically, it is because New York specifically is a place that I am observing everything possible. So, of course, when you are observing many things around you that they are different from another country, then it's effect on your journey and outcome as an artist. So yes, I believe that if I was in Iran, I would maybe paint differently for sure, because I am an artist that I like to bring environment in my work and how I'm feeling in the life experience. So for sure, these two would be different if I was living, I don't know, in London or I was living in Iran. And also, if you see my body or my work since 2010, I changed a lot. It started with a very flat color, and then it get to a point of I started writing calligraphy on the background of my work, and then it get fully away. So I think what was that, Harry?
No, in terms of the details, really spoke a little bit. I think we should focus on the painting that has tomato paste in it. And we molded one, the molded one. So as we observe there, we see a jar, right, of tomatoes that are important for Iranian cuisine, Iranian identity. But at the same time, it has this metaphorical quality, the pulping, right? And it was also painted during important political time for Iran this summer when it was facing a war. So, what do you think influenced your choice in this specific instance, right? I mean, did you want to show us that the land itself will stand and will produce, some of the more valuable materials, some of the historical kind of what is associated with the country, even though it's facing, does it have a political dimension in this case, in other words?
Okay. Yes, the details are my words. So if I cannot pay details, then I can give up pay. Because I think it is important. Like when you say I'm from Iran, people might think about like a really vague image from you, but then they get to know you, they get to know your background and everything like that. So they get their clear image, and I face the details in my work the same way as you interact with a human being. About the tomato paste, all right. So the war of between Iran and Israel that happened during the summer, I was almost finishing and like working about the body of work, and that was a very hectic time because I even didn't know I can see my parent house anymore again. I didn't know if I can get to a point that I can see my own body of work again. I didn't know if I will have a family. I passed 48 hours that I didn't know if my family are alive or not. But I go to studio. I went to the studio during that time because I felt more safe that they are around me. Like I felt they are something that give me a little bit of calmness and safety zone. So when the war ended, I was working on that painting, and I was like, it's an organic moment that I can bring something from my country, the Azadi Square, that it is the freedom square, yeah, the British Square. And I was thinking how if we were not there and if the war wasn't happen, that it would be a starry night. Women were there, the Azadi Square were there. Maybe some tomato paste were molded, but there is a little creature coming out of the tomato paste that with a white flag in her hand, like as a piece. So that was my wishing. Like that was a moment that I wish we are not in this planet anymore. I feel we are not. Everything will be beautiful. So that's how I did that. Yeah.
One more question before we move to specific work, specifically to paintings behind us. But I wanted to ask you, where would you say would you place yourself within art historical context? And that this we spoke as we were talking about this exhibition. We spoke a little bit about Eugène Delacroix and Romanticism, Turner and his romantic landscape. So do you feel that, in a way, you're using this heritage, this visual heritage, as a way to subvert it? Because in a way, these painters, they believe that the nature can still save us, and we're destroying the nature very actively. And so do you feel that you connect this to this visual culture of 19th century, right? To showcase how we took it in the wrong direction, in a way.
Okay. So I love to go to museum. I think art history is
I know it's important for your research.
It's important, yeah. And I like to have a painting and body of works. I like to be a type of artist that each work of me has a story written. Because I'm a writer too. I write a lot, so I like that's the
analytical aspect.
Yes. And so the Monet and and the doctoral painting, they have been there, and I learned a lot from them. So your answer is yes. I think heritage-wise, yes, I feel I like to do that, and I like to refer to the artist Farhoudnia board. I think yes, we changed the nature.
Yeah,
But
we changed the narrative. Now you're changing it in the
yes, solitude. Yeah,
Thank you for doing that. So let's talk a little bit about these two paintings behind us. So this one is called Kissing Here at 11 p.m. And here we see the motifs of Brooklyn Museum, right? That you pass through nearby every day. We see swans, which are very important for Saba's work, specifically here. Also because swans are species that have been heavily impacted by the climate change. And is this the reason why you love them? So
one of the reasons. Yes.
so tell us a little bit about the process of working on this painting. Where did it start? Why do we see this whale? What's the symbology here?
Okay. So as I mentioned that I like to bring my environment to painting, I pass by Brooklyn Museum every day to get to the... Okay, I live in Brooklyn, very close to Brooklyn Museum, and then my study is in London at sea. So I had 2 hours commute every day to go to the studio and coming back, and it was impossible that I ignore the environment that I'm living. So some of my works have a perspective of train comic. I don't know if you recognize that. And the column in Brooklyn Museum have been also every day I was like passing there, and I was keep staring at the column. Also, column is very important in literature in Iran. Like we say, if someone passed away, like a father passed away in your home, you will say that that's how we translate it, that the column of the house broke. So in general, column is a very important vocabulary for me in my culture and everything like that. I was like staring at them in Brooklyn Museum, and I was like, I like to bring something related to what am I feeling, and the column and that I am looking, and then the background of me, and so that's how I brought the column. And the statues are randomly, 2 of them are random because I wanted it to work compositional wise, but one of them is referring to a statue from Renaissance. It's actually the statue. So I started the painting after the first stage of the color with the column, and I wanted to just feel, because many times I passed Brooklyn Museum and it was like a protest in front of it, or like, for many reasons there is a protest always happening in that area, and I see a lot of paper on the floor. So my mind was like, okay, how would your mother and the papers are being, and that's how you see the envelope of like a love letter with a map, Mickey Mouse. Like I just transform everything on my own word, and my poetic word and stuff. Swan have been very important because also there is two swans in Prospect Park that I also ever working, and climate change is affecting on their life because they are immigrant. So I see them as a birds that they are immigrant and they are surviving and they are fighting with climate change, and that's why I like them. And also there is other aspect. I'm a romantic person. I like their nature. I like that they are monogamous. I like that they are 2 colors, black and white. So they are representing kind of diversity symbolically for me. And also we have a different swans. Some of them are male swans. Some of them are like, they sing. So
They're elegant. Always.
Exactly. And also like their form is kind of like very enjoyable with the brush stroke that they do. It's like they come out themselves without like even one. Like many times I did a brush stroke because my process is like I start with the fluid ink on the floor, and then I put it on the wall, and then I start having some brush stroke randomly. And then sometimes those brush strokes are defined themselves as swan. So sometimes I don't choose that. They like to come. And I just define them. And so the whole process of my process pareidolia, I find shapes and elements in my brushes selectively. So yeah, that's how I make the painting. I think if Brooklyn Museum was not close to me, maybe this painting wouldn't happen. Because, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So let's talk a little bit also about the painting I find you, which is titled Kiss the Perlen. So a little bit of a backstory on this painting as we were thinking about this exhibition. So abandoned places has always been of places of interest for me personally as well. And coming from Georgia, there are many places that have been abandoned there. Because the country has been there from 5th century. There are old buildings, like really old ruins, but there are also buildings from the Soviet past. One of the very important example of this more Soviet past for Georgia is the spa resort of Zaltubom. And I have been there in 2023. I visited it. So it was built in 1950s, 1960s as a resort for the Soviet workers to come and spend time and rejuvenate themselves. It was built specifically by Stalin's orders. And the architecture of this place is stunning. And now it's overtaken by nature. So one example is this Rodon Bathhouse number 9, and I have photographed it when I was there, and I sent the photo to Saba when we were talking about this exhibition as maybe one of the places that would inspire her. So we collaborated in a way on this piece, and you could see but there are details that only she could have brought to it, like Monet V's water lilies, like the cow observing from above. So tell us a little bit how it was to connect to a place you never visited. You just visited from a photo, and do you want to visit it? Please.
Of course, I would like to, yeah. Well, I would like to, of course, I like to visit it. So when you send me the pictures and the videos, I was amazed by
It's a very interesting place.
It's a very interesting place. And I want to just feel that I'm the last man of the earth. And basically, I had kind of like a mindful time and kind of like closing my eyes in the studio for some hours and watching that documentary. And I felt what I like to see if I enter to this place, what is missing towards my eyes, like what I like to see. And I like to have kind of like a man painting because I want to, I don't like to think with limits. I like break my limitation, and I don't. I like a word without borders.
You like to push yourself.
Yeah, I just want to feel we are all merged. Always. So that's how I paint, also very universal. So I was like, why not? Maybe one a very place, and he painted the lily. He left his shoes, and
a pickle jar.
And a pickle jar.
Right.
And why not? Like, there is a lot of why not in this painting.
Yeah.
And also I brought a sketch from my childhood, because that's how I painted the human when I was a child. I brought it there, and then it was a day I just opened the studio, on my studio, and I see during the summer with the Iran and Iraq and the Israel war, I was like, peace, like. So then I was like, how about if I have like a leftover note of peace on the one, and why not? So basically, this painting is a why not painting. And I think the freedom gave me joy, and then I add some taste of pickles in the corner with some rats of the MTA subway under. So everything is kind of like marriage and between of like sleeping and reality in my mind.
Well, thank you for collaborating. I'm not like covering the pickles. Would you like to add something? I mean, this is it that I have for the questions for you, but please don't have any questions from the audience, please. Which one?
Oh, it's a.
Okay.
So I see that you're describing this like post-human world that's very beautiful, and from hearing you talk about the swan, which seems very personified and is an extension of you, I was wondering, do other animals have significances, and is there like some kind of a relationship or ecology that happens? Because it also kind of, I think this is a much more beautiful representation of the post-human world, but also to an extent, like reminds me of like Orwell's Animal Farm in a way. So I was just curious if other animals or other things have relationships, and if there's a world building that you imagine.
My imagination. I were, I mean, I am interested to animals in general. Since I started painting, I have monkeys, in my bio cards. So some of the animals are more in my mind. I'm more interested to them, like swans and dolphin, monkeys. I think by nature, all of the animals are very interesting creatures, but some of them have kind of like very specific about them, either about the way that they live together or they live alone. Some very highlighted. So I like to bring the ones that are highlighted in their nature, like something highlighted in their nature, mostly. Dogs, of course, and they're all around of us. And and I had a body of work in the past that I was working about animals that they immigrated all together, and I had my own Sophie between them as a stranger, as like an bonded person between all of us animals. So depend on the body of work. I think I like to bring them. Some of them have more attention from me than the others. Yeah. Yes.
I just wanted to ask about the colors that you use in the works, and I'm just curious about your process. Just because I noticed that some have like a wash of kind of one color, like golden, and then some have a lot more colors happening. And I'm just curious how it comes to you. I don't know if it's planned or what your intentions are with certain colors. They're very dreamy and they're really, really beautiful. And I think that also helps kind of maybe offset the forsakenness and the darkness as well. But I just wanted to hear about it from you, Abby.
That's a good question. Thanks for asking. It's selective. I recognize as a storyteller, as an artist, that I have a lot to say in my painting to the viewer. I think it is better that I also give a little bit of quiet moment regarding the colors that I'm choosing to the viewers, so they can engage more to my narrative than what other part of the work. Of course, I love colors. I'm pretty excited, and sometimes I have to control myself. I have to put some tube away from it, and I just don't go crazy. So those are the time that the colors won. And I added more, but some of the monochromes one are the time that I won. So I think that is the main reason that I don't like to make everything super colorful, because I want to just give the audience a little bit of rest visually, that they can engage to the work more than what am I interacting with colors and palette. Yeah.
You said, well, thank you for not here. You said you're a writer as well, and I'm curious how your painting and your imagining work together, and are there moments then one practice maybe where you feel like it doesn't quite fulfill your narrative, but your other practice can, or how did they get?
Well, I write not professionally. Like, in fact, everybody know me in my mother tongue when I write. They tell me that it's a look I write, but I didn't send them out. I think I am better in painting than writing in general, but the way that I write, maybe it's like kind of like all artists that they write mostly their sketchbook, but very poetically, you know, related to their experience. The writing is a kind of like a tool for me to help me to be in my painting more engaged. Wow. Did I answer you?
One last question would be, what is the next project that you're excited, or what's coming up, or next, maybe just next painting?
Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. Sometimes it's everything goes. So the I am going to have sometimes just probably after this show painting a small portrait and life, you know, like coming from observation and look.
So it will be a new direction in a way.
Yes, yeah.
Would be exciting.
Exactly. And for my next solo show, there is a narrative that I work is related to of idea in this body of work. That the architecture aspect would be definitely there. But I have other plan for it that I need to have some research and study in terms of like practicing it. But like, so that's why I just want to work on a portrait more and painting a lot of portrait upcoming 18 months. Yeah.
We're all looking forward to it. Thank you everyone for coming and for the questions. Thank you.
Okay, everyone, thank you so much again for coming. And thank you for both of you for such a fascinating conversation. For those who are interested, Saba's artist interview is published on civilartpublishing.org alongside many interesting artists from our community stories and stuff. So please do visit.